because I also just want to like learn more about, because I think it's really interesting how you navigate all of this from different positions. You're yourself first an artist and then a curator. And was this shift, like, how did it happen and was it difficult?
It was difficult. It was really difficult. Even now, I'm trying to balance my artist life and curator life, because it was totally different. But because as an artist, what you should think about is how to make things, how to manage your words to say in your work. But as a curator, you gonna make things happen in real world. It's different. So as a curator, you have to think about more realistic problems, like how can I get the fundings, how can I find a proper context, how I do the promotion, uh, how I gather all the appropriate how I gather most match artists together, and how can I manage their works together and make and let it make sense. That's what a curator should think about. It will be more complicated. But as a artist, my work is more like a research-based creation. So basically, my job would be reading, maybe reading and thinking and writing and making experiments. That's it. It sounds simple, but it takes a lot of time and money. But so what I think the most significant difference between being a curator and being an artist is curator is thinking about how to gathering money, and but as an artist, what I should think about is how I spend every penny of myself. I think that's the most significant difference of all. So, but it was difficult because this kind of two characters would share time, my personal time, my work hours, and my strengths. So I think after this curation project that just happened days ago, I would maybe spend 1 or 2 months doing my job, doing my own work. So my next work would also be in sound installation, a sound interactive installation that maybe includes lighting a firework.
Oh,
So I'm still
is it the
lighting,
Yap
yeah.
Hall? Like the
Yeah, exactly, the damp
Oh,
cracker one. Yeah, so I would light the cracker,
that's
literally
such a
light the
great
cracker.
work on feminism too.
Yeah,
Um,
that would
um,
be the yeah,
yeah.
exactly. That would be the last piece of work of this project. So I'm now doing mm, like a cultural study, uh, uh, also the social studies. Like I want to explore this kind of fire worship tradition, the relationship between fire worship tradition and the gender power system. I think it has some connections, but I haven't found out what the connections really are and why we have this kind of connection. So I'm still doing some reading these days.
Yeah, that's a fascinating project. I remember when you first told me about it, I was really, really just shook. And essentially, just to sum it up a bit, I think you can probably do a better job than me. But the idea behind it, isn't it that when a child is born in where you were born, your hometown, then if it's a boy, then fireworks go off. Is that right? But that's only fireworks only go off if it's a boy. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'm the first one born with the fireworks, the first girl,
Right.
that born with the fireworks. So thanks to my dad, thanks to my dad a lot.
Yeah, and I'm just really excited to see how this work when it comes out. So please keep us updated on it. And I just think it's amazing how you can balance all of these things. I remember when I was inviting you for this podcast, you were saying, yeah, sure, I'm getting on a plane to, was it Guangzhou or somewhere, to
Yeah,
install the heads. Yeah. And yeah, it's quite amazing. And I think also in terms of the length of
mm-hmm,
how this project could, you know, from beginning to end, take place in 3 months. And it seems like
mm-hmm,
the art scene in Shanghai is very dynamic. So
mm-hmm.
through your previous job, you've had experience as a curator, and it seems like people know you in the kind of in the art world there, and so they'll reach out to you for projects as the curator or as the artist. Is that right? Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and just I guess it's kind of crazy to think how a project like that can take off in 3 months.
I think 3 months is a pretty limited time period for this project because I think if we have more time in the next tour, we would definitely develop more kind of more forms of the illustration because I think 100 sculptures can have a lot of possibilities. So once we want to make a tower, the 7 meters high tower to contain these sculptures, but it was too complicated and difficult, and it would spend a lot of money. So we decided to postpone it and try the easiest way for the first time. So just step by step, and I think we could create more fascinating forms next time. So that's what I think. So
Yeah.
and also, sorry, sorry to interrupt. So also, uh, curating all these digital exhibitions bring me new ideas of my own work. For example, in the Damp Quaker project, originally as you know, as I want to say, I used to do artist book, and I used to do sound works, and I used to film some performance and also some live performance. But in the last work that I just mentioned, I want to add some text in this one because I think uh, add a little bit interactive tricks can bring some new experience to the audience. For example, I want to let's just a prototype of of this work. I want to create a room where you somehow step in a point and in another space, in another part of the space, the this kind of booming would just yell in this space. You have no idea when you will step on this spot, and you have no idea where the sound would go off. So that's what I want to create in this space. And all this will be triggered by technologies, by um, um, this kind of AR, IR. Um, I don't know, just a kind of interactive triggers that I set up that program before. So
From
it'll be easier.
first sound hearing it, initially it sounds like anxieties in contemporary society.
Yeah, like you have no idea. Probably you will be shocked, and that's what I want people to feel. So if without these technologies, without these knowledges of digital art, I would never come up with these new ideas of my work. So thanks to that, thanks to the previous experience.
It's really great and fascinating to hear how you've made it go hand in hand. And
Mm-hmm.
then also, I'm curious for your current, the project that you just did, what
Mm-hmm.
were, I guess, um, some elements of it? Wait, let me rephrase that. So, in the project
Mm-hmm.
that you just did, kind of like what was the breakdown of audience members that could attend the opening, rather, and which, like, how many streamed it online?
Sorry, what I did not quite get it.
Okay, so for your recent exhibition, so how many actually audience members saw it live in person? like went to see the show? And then did you guys also stream it online? And what was the viewership like? I'm just kind of interested to know um, like the percentage of people who are still using, the virtual options.
Um, Honestly, we did not did a live streaming online of this show because it was so dark. So if we put a camera on in this room, basically you see nothing. So it was so dark because to focus on the light of the halo and the sculpture, we have to control the light of this space. So we did not do the live streaming. And the second one is about the people who visited this. I think maybe about 2 to 3 thousand people visited this space in the past 4 days. It only lasted for 4 days, and in the opening day, in the first night, we saw a long queuing. We saw a long line queuing for the performance. It was astonishing. But the room can only contain like 1 to 200 people at one time. So we have this kind of limitations. We talk to people. We say sorry for not having let them in, not letting them in, and they are pretty disappointed because they all of them want to see the performance of this magician, the combination of the magician and the sculpture. So after the performance, people were still standing in a line waiting to see this installation, which is quite moving. So every time I visited, like every day, I would go to the space and check, is everything okay? Every time I can see a bunch of people, at least 20 people standing in this room, and they are just lingering there and they don't want to leave. So we set a loop. We set a loop of audio visual performance of this installation itself. The loop would be lasted like 2 to 3 minutes. So people just standing there watching them again and again, like they have this kind of meditation feeling in this space. You can really calm down in this space. So I think people still prefer to feel something offline because it's so different, even though a lot of people have seen this sculpture, seen this figure online on the page of W. Zhou, the artist. They already know what it is, but it's so different to see it in the real world, and so different to see this kind of large amount presenting together.
For sure. And I think that like people really needed this. So it's
Really
just,
needed this.
yeah, congrats. It's really successful, it sounds like. And even from just looking at it from the screen, it's really mesmerizing. And I think there is probably a meditative aspect, especially when you're engulfed by darkness and then these sensory lights. I think that will really transport you from the current reality. And this is what people need. So congrats, it's really well done, it sounds like. And where's like the next location that you guys are touring it to?
We have several options like Chengdu or Beijing or probably Guangzhou. We are still thinking about that because we we prefer to have a longer period of exhibition time, because I think this time 4 days is too short for this kind of large installations. People need more time to experience it. So we are still thinking about if any place can provide us a longer time to present this. Is there any appropriate context to have this installation? That's what we're thinking about. Because basically, we don't want to just be a blink. we, we want to present this to more and more people. And also, we would like to invite different musicians and artists in this project. For example, I think this installation could have more possibilities with different types of musicians. Like we could have the singer, we could have the experimental musician, we could have this probably rock bands or something. It all depends. Depends on what would you like to perform, because we have the installation. The light performance could be programmed with a bunch of different forms, and we could change the space by the form of light together.
I think this trend is also like really picking up the musician with like interactive installation type. I don't know if you've seen Fortet and Squid Soup. So it's like a British musician. I can send it to you later, and they will take over a place like in London, Alexandra Palace. Yeah, and then it's just flashing lights everywhere, and it's quite striking, the venue and the space. So it kind of makes me think of that. And then it also makes me think, because we're still in the present situation of COVID, kind of this would need to be a massive space to also accommodate, distancing and like kind of safety. So is there also like kind of health and safety aspects that you have to consider?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So the reason that we can only contain 1 to 200 people at one time is also because of the COVID thing. We have to have this kind of safe distancing principles. So it would be good if we have longer time, so more and more people can come to this space with in a safe situation. So that's what we think. And also, if we just held it in a club, like just for one night, I think that's not enough. That's totally not enough.
Sure, and I think it's also quite interesting how clearly you can't really have this as a virtual show. Like it's something that you need to step into. That's it for this episode of Beyond Codes and Aesthetics. If you like what you heard, you can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you listen to your podcasts. Also, please take a moment to rate and review this podcast. It will help other listeners discover what we're doing. Beyond Codes and Aesthetics is produced by Kohei and translations on Himalaya Podcasts by Will Jiang. Take care and see you next time.